Hello, everybody. Hello, YouTube. It has been quite some time since I posted a video, but today we are back with a big project for the MR2. So, camera's going to be a little different. I have to do it on my phone. My GoPro is giving me a hard setup. But let me show you what today brings for us. So today we have a little package over here. Let's take a look and see what could possibly be going in this thing that we need to garage it for quite some time. That is right. I have bought myself, oh god, hold on, it's not working, but a Harddog roll bar, a double diagonal with the harness bar. And we are going to be putting it in over the course of a couple days. So I have moved house, and I am in a very small garage, but it is a garage nonetheless. So we're going to be limited, but we are going to make this happen. So yeah, I'm going to get started and kind of give you a walkthrough of like a how-to and the problems I run into, because when we did this on Hibiscus Motorsports Miata, it took us 14 hours with 4 people. Going to look at trying to get it done over the course of a couple days, and we'll go from there. So yeah, first things first is we have to clean out the car, and then we will start tearing it apart. Okay, so the first step we're going to start off with here is we're going to have to take out the seat bolts. So for the passenger and driver side, there's both 4 bolts. You're going to have to manipulate the seat forward and backwards, but they're 14 millimeter. So we're going to have to take those out first and then get the seats out of the car. Okay, so now that the seats are out of the car, we are going to be working on removing the cabinets and these rear trim. We're also going to take the sun visor out too. So as we're going through, we'll take them out and notify you of any problems we're having and just kind of show you the process. Okay, so with most of the trim in here, it's kind of just popping it out, whether it be with a tool or just lifting it up like so. This stuff up here has these punch clips that you're going to put a punch or something in, press it down, and then use a pry tool to leverage them up, or if you're a psychopath, you just use your fingers like me. And then those should just pop right out. Okay, so be gentle with these when you're taking them out. I just blew one of them apart, and this one's on the verge of blowing apart. So just use a some kind of pin or punch or something, and just go very gentle with it. Push them through, and then this is also one that's just going to kind of supposed to just, there we go, come right up and off like this, and then you can go ahead and unbolt the seatbelt from there and get it out of the way. Okay, so one more thing, we have to take the sun visor off, so you're going to go ahead and pop these covers off, one there and one there, and there's 2 10 millimeter bolts holding it on, or 2 10 millimeter nuts. Okay, so now that the visor is off, we have this piece back here above the cabinets, so you're going to have to drop the cabinets down like this, and then there's going to be 2 more pop clips, and then there's 2 clips in the center here. I'm not sure if this has come out. I will get back to you. Okay, next is going to be this plastic trim right here. There's 2 more pop clips, and then we're going to have to take this bar out. Okay, next we're going to start disassembling the cabinets. So you're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 10 millimeter bolts for the doors, and then there's going to be 10 millimeter bolts scattered throughout here. Make sure to check the sides too, because you know, it's Toyota, they're sneaky. Okay, so now once you get the cabinets out of the way, this is the fuel tank. So you're going to have to pry this up, basically. Let's see if I can kind of give you a preview on camera. You're going to want to work your way around. Yeah, this is going to be something you're going to have to kind of work it around and... Oh, hold on. There we go. It's kind of glued down, so I don't think there's a glue you have to replace it with. But, just so you know... Okay, so I guess from the right side, just doesn't want to go. From the left side, it's okay with going. Alright, so yeah, just work it around until you get it up, and then once I get this top off, I will show you what we need to do in there. Okay, so once you get the cap off here, you're going to run into 2 plugs. This one is a push, so you're going to push down right on this little piece right here and pull it off. It's kind of tight, so you can wiggle this around though to get you some more leverage. This one sucks to do, so you're going to want to take it off from the bottom here What I found worked best was I had a screwdriver or something pushing on this until this part lifted up, and then I had a set of pliers kind of wiggling it back and forth like this. Just be careful because you can break these really easily, and just wiggle it back and forth lightly until it pops out. So that's everything disconnected from the top of the fuel tank besides the actual evap canister line, which runs over here. On the driver's side, we're going to go ahead and remove this little piece of plastic, and the next thing to do is we're going to take this cover off. So you're going to want to undo these clips, pull down. Okay, that's not going to want to open. Then you have 10 mil. I think you have 4 of them here, and this bracket comes off too. And then you're going to want to pop that off. So the next part is going to be removing this evap line that goes to the charcoal canister. This thing is horrible to remove, I'm going to be honest with you right now. Those 2 clips have to be depressed and pushed in. So while this is bolted to the car, it's pretty much impossible to do. So I recommend unbolting it there and right over here, lifting and rotating the entire charcoal canister assembly so that you can get to it easier. 2 people would be much better, but I think if you really tried, you could do it with 1 person. But yeah, you're going to want to disconnect that so you can snake it out when you drop the fuel tank. So the next part we'll be doing is removing the center console here so that we can get the interior up and out of the way so we can access the panels back here in the ECU. The first thing you're going to have to do is there's 4 screws, 1 there, 2 on the opposite side. And then after, you are going to lift this entire assembly up, and then there's a clip for both of these windows. Also, make sure to take your shift knob off. All right, so now that we have the center console out of here, we're going to go ahead and pull the interior back. So there's going to be a few clips. There's 1 here, and then the same thing on the other side, but I believe that you can just kind of yank them off like that, and they come right out. So this is going to need to be exposed for when you do the roll bar, because I believe you need to drill through one of these spots and get to the ECU to flip it around. Okay, so it's not necessary, but we ended up taking the interior out. 1, as you can see, it was waterlogged. The soft top is leaking pretty bad. So everything is pretty much just pull apart. The cover for this pops off. The footrest in there pops off. The little corner trims left and right have 1 little plastic screw holding each of them in. That pops right off. And then I popped off the silver tabs on each side below the radio just to help get everything out. Everything else is pretty much just like folded or tucked under and just popped out. So just take your time, go slow, and you'll be able to get it out. Should be no problem. Okay, next step we're going to do is we're going to take this tray out. There's going to be these bolts or little plastic screws that go along here. There's 4 of them, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then there's also going to be these you have to unsnap from the actual bars in the soft top right around here. And I believe there's snaps on each winged corner end, left, right and left over there. So we're going to take that out and then we'll go from there. I'll show you what happens next. Okay, so now we're behind in the interior of the car, and there's this interior carpet here that's being held up by 3 different little clips you can just yank out, but you're gonna have to take this out in order to get to the ECU and put the bar in general. So basically you're just gonna pull that out and bring it out and then out of the car. Okay, so after that piece of interior is removed that reveals all the sound deadening stuff back there, this bar is going to come out. So you have a nut and a bolt right next to each other on both sides, and they are both 12 millimeters. So go ahead and get that out. This one seems to be way tighter than this one, so just be careful taking that one out. Don't want to strip anything. And then next we're going to move down to the ECU, play around with the brackets, probably flip them around so that we can fit the actual roll bar behind it. Okay, so the next part is going to be taking off the 3 bolts for the ECU here. There's a piece of plastic up here, which I believe is blocking some plug-in ports or just something's protective piece. Leave that on, but just do this so you can move the ECU out of the way. And I believe there's a bracket you're going to have to flip around. I think it's this one to space out the ECU when the roll bar actually goes in behind it. Okay, so we're out here for day 2 now. We left off with the evap line over there and the fuel tank itself being disconnected. After you get to this stage, go ahead and disconnect your battery, and then we're going to have to go ahead and jack up the car and start dropping the fuel tank. So now that we're under here, there's 2 12 millimeters. One over here, one over here. There's one back here somewhere too. Okay, so one last problem I ran into when trying to drop the fuel tank. One, you're gonna have to really play around and pry it out from underneath the e-brake line. There's really no good way of showing that, especially if you're down there by yourself. But also this line right here, if you can see it, this one right here is really hard to get off. It's tempting to try to take it off from here, but you're not going to get it off from there. So just take the metal cover off. It's 3 8mm, and then go ahead and pop it off from down there. Then you can go ahead and drop the tank and slide it out. Okay, so now that the fuel tank's dropped, just like before, how we have the ECU out, that's got to be out. You're going to kind of want to pull this wiring harness right here away from the car. Same thing with down here. This has to be away from the car so that the bars can go flush against the mounting positions. And then you're also going to remove the seatbelt assemblies and just push them out of the way for now. Then you can put the bar in and start test fitting. Okay, so now we're at the point, once you've marked your holes like this, we can go ahead and start drilling. I recommend starting off with a smaller drill bit first and working your way up. Don't use a step drill though, because you can very easily go too big too quick, and you don't want that. Even though the sandwich plates are there, you really prefer to have as much structural integrity as possible. So go ahead and drill your holes, and then we will I'll show you how to cut the bottom after this step. Okay, so once you have your pilot holes drilled, it's going to look something like this. Here, got them on the back here too. You want to start with like a kind of a smaller, medium-sized drill bit, work your way up from there, because if you start big and it starts walking, you're going to have all kinds of issues. Definitely go ahead and use the punch first. Maybe you got to use it a couple times, but you want them to be kind of as close to the circles as possible. Obviously, it's not going to be totally perfect. And then once you have your starter holes, you can go ahead and keep stepping up until you get to a drill bit that will fit the bolts through comfortably. Okay, so now we're here under the car, and I'll get you a good view of cutting. So basically right here, you're going to want to cut a rectangle, kind of the width of your sandwich plate with the 3 welded nuts on it. You're going to want to mark it up and cut it right here. When you do that, then you can fold it back and gain access to those bottom 3 bolts. So you're going to go ahead and mark it up and cut it here, just like this, and then fold it down and back so you can get your hands up in there with the sandwich plate. So use the sandwich plate as a reference, trace it out, cut it with your angle grinder or your drill, whatever you're going to do, and then you can gain access. And you're going to do that there, and on the opposite side too. Let me move the light over. Same thing right over here. In between this seam sealant and this undercoating is where you're cutting. Okay, this is a little update. So as you can see, the Sawzall, or not the Sawzall, the angle grinder kind of worked, but it's not really working. I don't know if it's there's no room down here. I thought there would be more room for an angle grinder. So I'm basically Swiss cheesing it, and then I'm going to use a Dremel to kind of connect the holes. And it's the same thing on the other side too. So once you do that, you might need to extend it a little bit, but then you're going to basically take a pry bar, put it in here, or pliers, and bend it back so that you can access the back side of those 3 holes at the bottom. So now that everything is cut, you want it to kind of somewhat look like this. You can see the 3 holes that we drilled over there. You want to fold it down because you're going to be folding this back. Sorry, I'm trying to get good lighting. There we go. You're going to be folding this back to close it and sealing it off so that it's waterproof and weatherproof. But you don't want to weld it together, because if you end up welding it shut, you won't be able to re-access the sandwich bolts, sandwich blocks on the other side. So that's one side there, and that is the other side there. Okay, so now that everything is cut in the bottom, the flaps are folded out of the way, you can go ahead and start bolting through. So you're going to want to follow the instructions about where certain bolts go. There's extended bolts that are going to go on the passenger side over here, because this has a spacer between it. But basically, you're going to have extra seatbelt bolts that are going to come up here with this whole seatbelt assembly, which you can compare from your seatbelt assembly to the bolts that are in there with the many washers. But you're going to go ahead and start sandwiching the plates together, and then putting bolts through and tightening them down. I believe they don't recommend anything above 36 foot-pounds, but check the instructions. Okay, so something else that's not talked about in this procedure. So you see the 2 holes over there that are drilled. Well, right back here, there's a bracket. Now, I've already cut the bracket, so, but when you drill the hole for the firewall, 2 of the driver's side firewall sandwich plates, you end up going right behind that bracket, And nobody tells you anything about this in here, so this is just another thing you got to look out for. I had to cut it with an oscillating tool, so I don't know how anybody else would cut it. I don't know if you need a die grinder or something to get back there, but I mean, basically it holds this little wire or line right here in place, which I mean, I guess a zip tie will be able to do in the future. But yeah, I figured I'd let you know. So that's also going to have to be cut because, you know, it's right in the way, and nobody has talked about this yet either from what I can find. I had to rotate the battery pan a little bit, but the problem is also I have a stripped bolt down here. Right there, there's a bolt there, and then a bolt that connects to your air filter housing right there. Those are, I believe, 12, 12, and 10, and then that one's a 12 down there, but that's stripped out for me. So, yeah, that's just another heads up to look forward to. All right, so when you're reassembling everything, you're going to have to swap one of these ECU brackets around, so that'll give you room for your roll bar back here. Either one works. The top one really works better, but the screws got stripped out in mine, so you can do the bottom one as well. If you're going to do the bottom one, I would just leave one out so that it has a little bit of wiggle room. But yeah, that's how you're going to reassemble the ECU. All right, so now then you're going to have to put the cover and the plug back in over top of the charcoal canister, and the fuel tank or the fuel pump cover and the grommet back in over top of that. Okay, so this is from the future. We had some time restraints doing this roll bar in the garage. We ended up having a move out date, and the vehicle had to be done by then. So we literally just kind of got the roll bar installed properly. However, it was very much down to the wire. The roll bar was done the same day we moved out. It's out of the garage. So it was very, very close. So I do not have the cabinets in. They're not going back in. The shelves aren't going back in because, one, I really don't want to alter the interior. I would rather save it for when I get another Spyder that I keep stock. The interior, as you can see, is also not going back in for right now because it's going to stay out. It's going to be a race car. That's, there's no cutting corners. That's what it's going to be. So if you were going to put these back in, you would need to alter the shelves around the roll bar, the trim pieces that come up here around the seatbelt towers and the actual roll bar itself. So that's not something I will be doing. However, in the minimal instructions Harddog offers, they do tell you about, measuring with chalk or crayon, I believe it was, and then cutting around the roll bar in those sections. But basically, the roll bar is in. It is very sturdy. You could lift the entire car up with this bar. Again, just like Hibiscus Motorsports Miata, this is a very durable product, and I would trust this to save my life. Now that it's in, we can go ahead and start looking at doing full-size track days in 2024. I have a little more safety going into this, not having to worry about my own personal safety while driving on the track. But yeah, this is it's in. Here's the final, picture of what it looks like in the vehicle itself. Basically, this is what it's going to look like for you, hopefully, if everything works out as poorly as it did for me. So yeah, going forward, I would say that this is probably your best bet between this and the other competition for the roll bar, that's a whole nother can of worms. You have to either get a roll bar based on your soft top or your hard top you have. You can't have one that fits both. So we went with the Harddog. Here it is. Thanks for watching, guys. I'm going to do a proper outro, blah, 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 blah.